Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the More Money Show comes in. If you're ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of More Money. I'm excited today because Skye is back with her third interview in the Year of Growth series. And she's got some big growth and some exciting things that are happening. So welcome, Skye.
Thank you.
I'm excited to talk to you today.
So, me too.
Before we jump in, I have been saying this more and more, and I want to highlight that. So as of the time of this recording, Skye has been in the Enchanted Circle for 167 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So tell what's awesome right now. Let's start there.
What's awesome is the personal growth that I've been experiencing, and being able to understand and move through conflict/obstacles in my life without letting them overtake me or knock me off my center. I learned this through being knocked off my center and having the conflict and the obstacle overwhelm me.
Which is generally how we learn it, right?
Yeah.
What I love about this is like you're publicly stating right now in this interview, like you've learned the lesson. Like as we tell the story, you're saying, I've learned the lesson. So you won't have to learn this lesson again, which is exciting.
Right. So, and what I've been doing is because I understand that I understand how to pre-pave or pre-center myself so that these situations, when they arise, I'm able to experience them without being of them. It becomes more so of a voyeuristic type situation versus an experiential situation. So it's just like I'm watching this situation unfold without having it become a part of my my emotional experience. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do, because that is super helpful for anyone listening. When you can step back, and voyeurism is like watching. So when you can step back and you can observe the situation from a more of an outside perspective,
yes,
it helps you see clear, because when you're in it, you only see what's in it.
Right.
You have to step back and look at it.
And it has the emotion attached to it and all the gloom and doom and, oh my God, this is going to ruin me thing. But now I can look at it and just say, and let it resolve, or I'm able to objectively look at it and allow the resolution to happen, and not even so much so that I may not be as hands-on with the resolution, but I'm just nudged towards the resolution. So, it might even resolve itself without even me being a part of it. So, which is also, but I found this kind of happened a little bit too. Absolutely. So that has been interesting, because the part is I guess the growth there is the trusting part, trusting in things to still be moving towards your plan or your goal or your life, whatever it is that I'm working on scripting, even when craziness, kind of pops into this. That's not the end of the story. Just keep moving. Just wait for it to pass,
Yeah, that's such good advice, because you do have a point. Like, we scripted that future. It's coming, whether or not every single thing feels like it's part of it, right?
Right.
It is part of it, and someday you'll be able to see it.
Right. And earlier, about an hour before I got on this call, I just had this feeling of positive optimism come over me again, because of the situation that I was dealing with. It was seeming to it's almost like if I bended back the time-space continuum, and something, oh my God, that was a good one. My future self came back and resolved the situation for me without trying. And I remember something else like that happened to me on the last call we were supposed to have, but it didn't. So it's weird that just happened, that I just said that, because I don't know where that came from in my brain, but it just kind of popped in there, like I was, the whole time thing. So this is going to sound crazy on the recording, but that is what came to me, so I'm saying it.
I 100%, I say it all the time. Oh yeah. So I don't know if I've said it on the air yet, but since we're talking about it, I 100% believe my future self went back and changed the lease on the future.
Yes, I feel like I had a sense of that. And this is the second time that I've had a sense of something coming back and fixing something and, okay, we got this. You're good. Just keep going. Right. And so I had this conversation before with you when I felt like that happened. So I'm having it with you now. So yeah, do what you will with that info. But
it happens. I mean, time is not continuous like we think it is, right? And engage that power in our future self. I fully believe. I think there's a lot of stories where this happens, including, where people all of a sudden have money that they thought they set up years ago and they don't remember. I think a lot of times that's our future self going back and saying, putting that money in the bank, because when we change anything in the present, I mean, we really do change both forward and back.
Yeah. And so not crazy story, but a story that you would believe because, you do these crazy things all the time. So,
I always love the guys' descriptions of me. They're awesome.
So you know what my script is. I'm pretty sure you've read it a few times, so you know how my script starts.
Oh yeah, I know.
Totally had that experience.
Awesome.
And yeah, so, and I'm just like, whoa, that was bizarre. And I remember while I was having it, I was just like, I wrote this down. So
that's the best feeling, isn't it?
So I was like going with it, and but then, so then the whole time space continuum thing popped into my mind again. I was just like, because it's kind of like I'm whispering because they're outside, but the person is not quite the person I thought I would be with.
Right.
So I was like, So I was wondering if that whole time space thing was happening again. But I said I'm just going to roll with it. I'm not going to, go into it. But just thought I'd throw that out there for you.
I love that. Well, and even here's the thing, it might be the time space thing, or it could be, because this is what happens. Everybody thinks that you're going to wake up, and this does happen. By the way, I'm not saying this does happen, but before it happens, so everybody thinks they're going to wake up one day and they're going to live out that whole script. Which at some day you will realize oh man, that happened, this is the entire script, right? But prior to that, what usually happens is piece by piece, you get to experience that because it's where your energy is. It's where you're putting it.
Totally did.
Yeah. You've just experienced, girl. I mean, we're about to talk about how you weren't acknowledging things. Like, when did this happen? This is the first I'm hearing of this. That you're living out that you lived out part of your script.
Yeah. So and again, the whole acknowledgement part, because it did not come in the way that I thought it would.
Yes. All right. So let's talk about this, and we're going to circle back. And so one of your biggest ahas is that you haven't been acknowledging when things are coming in. So tell that story. And then I also want to bring it back and talk about this a little bit.
So I have been having a stream of income come into my experience about weekly that I seriously wasn't acknowledging because I quote unquote didn't have the fun of it. It was being used going straight to paying for something that, needed to get paid, but it wasn't necessarily the most enjoyable thing. So I didn't really acknowledge, and I was all frustrated, my situation's not changing. I haven't had any movement because I'm hearing all these stories on the call about all these people having these wonderful things. And I'm like, man, how come my stuff isn't so wonderful? So I'm feeling stagnant and stuck. But this thing has been happening since May. And it's what do we have a call last week or earlier, a couple of days ago? And I'm just and I'm irritable. And I'm just like, dude, what's going on with me? What am I doing wrong? And this stuff has been going on for weeks now, and I just didn't even acknowledge it. So I was kind of like, yeah. So then after I calmed down and done my whole centering thing, that's when it clicked. I was like, oh, you're a jackass because you totally did not acknowledge all this blessing that's been happening for almost 2 months now, or a month, at least, or a month now.
Month and a half at least.
Yeah. And so then I'm just like, oh, so that was a bit of a learning. And then it also the learning was that when you're not centered, when you're not focused, you miss a lot of stuff. So, and I was like, oh, once I kind of centered myself and I was just like, you know what? I missed a whole lot of stuff. And that's when suddenly all these things I couldn't remember on the call that had been happening to me, all of a sudden it popped into my head. I was like, oh, I see the lesson here. So what I've been doing is starting my day by centering myself and then going into the rest of my day. Then after I'm centered, then of course I script and then I'm all happy about that because then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm about to manifest a whole bunch of fun stuff. Yes. So I do that and but that was my growth. And also the centering also helps me ward off the emotional, roller coaster that you get on when you have obstacles or things like that coming your way. So it also helps you see your, openness to abundance. Like it was funny because I had this conversation with my girlfriend this morning, which oddly enough, I had in a place when I was centered, that she was just like, yeah, money's everywhere. It's just like so funny that you're always talking about that because she was asking me, how this situation was going. I was like, oh, I'm not talking about that because I'm not putting my energy on it. And
that's right. Right.
So then she was like, oh my God, Skye, that is so good. I'm so glad you're always so good at this type of stuff. And she was just like, yeah, speaking of, how you're always talking about money's everywhere. Well, guess what? And she goes into this whole story about how she and her husband who flip houses and how they kind of like, kind of run through all their cash with the house. But then they realized they had like a tax return that came back where they had like $7,000 coming back. And then apparently from 15 years ago, this guy never got his last paycheck. Who does that?
Right.
So he found some cash.
Wow.
Right.
15 years ago? See,
yes.
Again, your future self goes
yes.
back and being like,
so I was laughing to myself. Because now the universe is just showing off to me when they're like, well, see, I told you we could do that. Look at that. Dude just went back 15 years ago. Who doesn't collect a paycheck 15 years ago? Nobody. So I was like, all right, I hear you. I got the message. So, so 15 years ago, the guy got him money. And then some other like bizarre way they found money. And I giggled to myself, okay, I said, I got you. I heard the message. I heard it. So, that was this morning's conversation. So, money's everywhere, basically. It's amazing how it turned up. So
it is. Well, and when you see it, right? And so let's backtrack a little bit because there's some things you told me before the call that were reasons, right? So this money, you highlighted this, but I want to give it even more of a spotlight for listeners. Like you've scripted and this is what people think. Like, okay, well then the money has to come that way or stuff has to come that way.
Yes.
And this money came through a different channel, so you weren't acknowledging it.
Yes. And that's exactly what happened. And it's been coming it was like the easiest way for me. It was easy. It was fun. How I got it. It was just like, oh, my friend saying, yeah, you could do this and we can make it. I was like, cool. And I didn't even have to try, and it's steady. It's regular. It's like, and it's just like, wait a second, why am I not acknowledging this? Because it's been a huge help to me. But again, it's been a help to me. So I just, like I said, I just did not see it coming in the way that I was expecting. And also my brain was focused on the obstacle that I was dealing with versus, just trusting that it's going to work out. Right. So it was messing with my energy and all that stuff.
Well, and it was also, I bet if we went back to when you didn't share about that money, it was right about the same time that you started having this, I'm stuck, I feel stuck, like telling that story. Nothing's happening, right? I'm looking for something to happen. Nothing's happening. And so because in addition to not being centered and not seeing it, I mean, it's all happens on both sides, right? And then you start telling the story and then you don't see it, right? Yeah. And the same with the script. Like when did it, because you didn't acknowledge that until now, right? That, I lived a moment out of my script.
Yes, I did.
Because it didn't come the way with the person you expected or the way you expected, right?
Right. That is correct. So, and I had to say that after I made that acknowledgement, then I made this one. And I was just like, okay. So stuff is happening. I'm just not acknowledging it.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's the new story? What's happening going forward? What shifts are you making to keep that acknowledgement momentum in the greatest flow?
Well, my thing is the biggest thing for me is starting my day with meditation because that allows me to center my mind. And then I then go into the process of after I meditate and I'm already my vibrations high. That's when I script because I'm in a higher vibration so that I know more likely, the stuff is going to come through. So I found that little thing that even if it's only 5 minutes, it makes such a difference because situationally, there's things in my environment that are have manifested themselves. And for whatever reason, they're there now. So, I got to move through them.
Right. Absolutely.
So I am now able to deal with those situations better. And they're working out a lot better than I planned. So therefore, now they're not causing me as much stress. It's not affecting me as it was before.
And so because it's not affecting you and there's less stress, like what is going on in your life?
More enjoyment, more positive manifestations, more easy, more flow, more just ease, a lot more ease and a lot more enjoyment.
Yes.
I want to go. Yeah.
And what is that? I mean, have you noticed the immediate shifts of what that's opened up to?
The essence of what I want in terms of relaxation, happiness, and freedom.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So the sense of feeling happy, the sense of feeling more relaxed, and the sense of like I was saying about an hour ago, prior to the call, I was just like this sense of optimism and peace came over me. I don't know what
Yes.
So that was like pretty awesome. And I was just like, this is after I got a call about one of the situations that I'm dealing with. And it was just like, oh, and I felt a sense of peace and optimism afterwards. I was like, I got this. So, yeah, that's how I know that I'm where I'm supposed to be because that there's this feeling that comes over me. I was like, that's where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right space. Now I know things are happening because it's that it's just a feeling that I know that when I'm tuned in or tapped on or whatever, I know that feeling. And once I hit that feeling, I know I'm in the right space. I know where I'm supposed to be and everything's working out.
Absolutely. Definitely. Which is awesome and amazing. And I had a question, which is escaping me right now for some reason. Cool. What else awesome is happening?
Oh. I look cute.
Yeah, you do look cute today.
I know that, right? I was feeling myself, so I went because all these things were happening. I went and got a mani-pedi, got a facial, and put on a pretty dress. And I have nowhere to go outside of because that's my life. I did. This is what my future self would be looking like every day. So I was like, yes.
It helps, right? It makes you feel more like her.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are some things that listeners can do. And I also want to highlight, everybody this is just what happens, right? You script, you set the intention, you think money's going to come so way, and it doesn't. So it feels like it's not working. And we've already established that it's working. But I also want to point out that this is the way that your future self and the universe takes care of you, is that because that money that's showing up to take care of stuff, like you said, it's making you feel happier and more relaxed. And so often the universe will deliver what you need because you can't manifest all that awesome stuff in your script, which is happy and relaxed, when you're stressed and not happy, right?
Right.
And so the universe often bridges that gap. It gives us the things that we need to be more of the person we need to be in order to attract stuff. And that's exactly what happened with the money. And I just want to point that out to listeners because it happens.
Did I tell you the story of how I found the guy to help me out with my places or no?
No.
Oh, I missed another story. Okay. So, I was outside, I was out in the area of my place. So my places that I rent out are like 35 minutes away from me. So going back and forth can sometimes be hectic because I have 3 of them. So I was out there and I was just like, something said, Skye, go out there today. I said, all right, I'm gonna go check on the places. I'm following my inspiration, right? So then one of my tenants was like, oh, I need a key key made. I was like, all right, I could do this now or whatever. I was like, I'm going to go get the key made. So I'm going to get the key made, and that's where I meet the guy who's also there going to get the key made. And it turns out this is precisely what he does. He helps people, the Airbnb businesses, turning them over, blah, 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 and helps them out. So I was like, what? And I overheard the conversation because we happened to this little rinky-dink key place that, is in the neighborhood. It's not like a regular hardware. It's like a little rinky-dink hardware store that you really wouldn't really happen upon unless you're in the neighborhood or know the neighborhood. Yeah. So, and I kind of giggled to myself and see, once again, I didn't acknowledge that story.
Right.
I knew the story that it was happened. So that has been a big relief for me to have help.
Yes.
Previously, the person that I had helping was not helpful. So.
I love it. So your future self led you to this path and to this thing and this thing.
Yes.
And the person showed up.
I can't believe it. I forgot I never told you that story. So that was a pretty cool story about following inspiration and inspirational hits and just going with it.
Yes.
And so this person's been very helpful in terms of helping resolve the other situations because it still allowed me to do the other things that I need to take care of myself. So, yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, any other stories popping up that you?
I know, right? All kinds of evidence popping up left and right now.
Right. Now that we're on the track of looking for it, right?
Right.
And what's funny is that it's funny now. It wasn't funny on Monday. Is that it was so off, right, on Monday that we couldn't even have a conversation about it.
And I was so mad, and I was you don't understand how bad it was. My thing was screeching. I was like, I kept hanging up and coming back and hanging. It was like they were like, nope, not today. You need to go sit down somewhere. And I was like, but no, I need to be on this call. I was like, no, you need to go sit down. What? No, and I kept trying. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So yeah, I bet you my Wi-Fi works now, but we'll see. I haven't tried it since.
No, I bet Monday's call will be crystal clear, right?
Like what?
Yeah, and these are the things I want to bring up for listeners too. Like when this stuff starts happening, when things get harder than they should, or you're the only one, because everybody else is like,
oh my God, and
everything's perfect. Like what? Yeah, and you're
like, we can hear you fine, Skye. I'm like, shut up! No, you can't. I can't hear you. You're great, Skye. We can hear everything.
Yeah. And so that is just, it's a reflection of sort of where the energy had accumulated to, right? That had landed. And it was the moment you needed where it was, to see it. And now that the energy and momentum is on, what's the evidence? It's happening? How is everything moving forward?
Right.
That momentum is going to carry through. And we've had a perfectly easy call today.
Imagine that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts? Anything else you want to share for today's?
No, I'm feeling, I'm kind of, this is where I am. This is where, that's where I am. So I don't really have anything else to say. It's kind of, this is where I am on day 167?
Yep, day 167.
So, yes.
Yeah, it's awesome. So thank you for joining us today, and make sure everybody to catch next week's interview as well as Skye's next year of growth interview. If you have heard about the Enchanted Circle and you're like, it's time that I check that out, you can go to cassieparks.com. Just click on the Enchanted Circle and submit the application, and we'll take it from there. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us on The More Money Show. To learn how to identify your current money story, go to identifyyourmoneystory.com.